Welcome to Module 12, where we're working through the job order. We're going to talk about the requirements and details tabs. And on the requirements tab, this is something you'll want to work with the employer on. The only thing that is required to have on there, there's a required question, is the education level. So now, even though it's required, you can also choose that it's not a specific requirement, in which case it will not ask for anything education related. You can choose to show it or not show it. And each of these has a filter on here, which is defaulted to show that this is a preference, but you would allow anybody to apply. Now, if you have something, if the employer has something that is a hard requirement that they must have, for example, if there's a certification that they have to have, or a level of education they must have, or a license, for example, a CDL truck driver, they have to have a certain level in order to do that job, they can then choose the second option, which says only show application information to people who affirm they meet the criteria. So that's the hard requirement there. If it's something that is preferred but not a deal breaker, then you can leave it as a preference, which we actually prefer to do that in most cases unless it's something that's absolutely a must-have. That way it doesn't knock people out from being able to apply to a job, especially if they have a lot of experience but not much education, or a lot of education but not much experience. You don't want somebody in one of those situations to get knocked out simply because they have too much of one and not enough of another. It lets the employer kind of make the call on that. So you'll see here, I've expanded all of these to show you additional requirements that can be added. You can put experience in years and months. Minimum age, just remember it has to be a legal requirement, and you cannot put a maximum level. And we actually have ages reasons listed there. So you'll see here, if I put an age in, it has 4 legal reasons that could be related to this, and also an other, which is free text, which will allow them to put some other legal requirement. Now, please note, if you put other there, you would need to vet that that's a legitimate legal requirement of the job. If they're doing it themselves over in Talent, anything that has other on it is actually going to go to the approval queue, so that a staff can review the reason that they put in there and see if it's a legitimate reason that is acceptable for the job post. Driver's license, again, they have CDL licenses, some of them might have endorsements. That could be a hard requirement. Occupational licenses, certifications, languages, maybe they need to, if it's an interpreter, they would have to know a certain language in order to do that job. Or if they work with people of different ethnicities and different nationalities, they would need to know certain language to communicate for that job, especially if it's a job that requires communication. You can put that in there. National Career Readiness Certificate. You can put which level is required. So employers use that to screen their postings. And then lastly, you got special requirements. And these are knockout questions. People have to affirm that they know various things or are able to do certain things. It has 3 listed here, but you could actually add more than that. And you don't have to use this if you don't want to. But it's a good tool for employers who want to screen out certain people to make sure like they know certain programming languages and know they can lift a certain amount of weight. These need to be things that are related to job duties or legal requirements of the job. They should not be things such as weight, height, gender, ethnicity. You don't want anything that could be EEO inappropriate listed as a knockout question here either, especially with this being free text. These would be vetted or filtered by the system automatically. Now, if you're doing it as a staff, again, it does not go through the filters, so you do want to make sure that you are vetting those, that they're not inappropriate. So that's all the different requirements you can put in. We're going to save and go to the next step, which is called details. First off, we need to know the work location. It will default to the location of the hiring manager, but you can put in multiple locations, which you can put a city, state, or a zip, and then you could add as many of those as needed, and then it would put those in, or any currently listed locations for all of their other jobs. So you could do that, and it would do all the post, any position or any location that has been on a prior job order. It would put all of them there. And then you can also do public transit accessible and whether it's suitable for home-based job seekers, if it's a work-from-home job. Then you've got these special job types we talked about earlier. You got court-ordered, affirmative action, federal contractor, and foreign labor. The foreign labor jobs are typically done, they go through a special program, and there's a coordinator for that, Jeff Gatewood. And there's also one, and he works with the agricultural. Then there's also a non-agricultural and other types of certifications. They generally go through because there's additional requirements they have to have, and there's additional screening. So most of the time you won't be working with these. Federal contractors, they are required to post with us, but then all the other requirements are pretty much handled between them and the federal compliance group. So there's nothing really you would have to look at yourself other than to make sure they're not posting anything inappropriate. Then you have different sectors down here, and then you've got the tax credits as well. So they could just indicate their interest in tax credits and whether they're part of a sector. All this does is it will let them let job seekers search by sector. So if they want to look at just healthcare jobs or just IT jobs, your job will be flagged as one of those types of jobs. So it'll show up in their searches. So it's just a way to better identify the type of job that you're looking at. So, okay, in the next section, we're going to finish up the job order.